Start.
No, I guess with the chair being gone, I don't have a vice chair.
We can unanimously pick one for.
Who was the first person
Do
here?
they have to be here to be nominated?
Laura.
Laura was the first.
Laura was
one.
the first one.
I'd like to call this meeting.
I'll second it.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, on the left side, that was such a-
Yeah.
Item 1B.
It's always, let's see if there's anything other than first.
Nope.
Because I
Let's
think
go figure out how to do it in my phone, so that just put it in once.
basically every first
The first Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
unless somebody messes this up. See,
4th of July is the weekend, so that might.
are there any that we will not do because of holidays or?
Not because of holidays, but if city council changes the meeting and comes in, or
Yeah. That's one. That's-
John and Sam are both deathly ill on that one day.
Okay.
When we go through.
We have to have a motion to approve it, sorry.
Where we approve the calendar for next year. I'll second that.
All approved, everybody?
Aye.
The next 4 items.
You're still sharing your calendar.
We're gonna go through these and kind of report. Some of it is like a report, some of it may require that. Report.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff on
I'm just sending him, I just got the text.
it? Okay. Is he here now?
He's hasn't been invited yet. I have to send him the. Yeah, sorry. It was a last minute email and I didn't see it. I just sent it.
Jeff on Zoom.
He will be soon. I don't know if he's here. He's not here yet. He just got it. Mm-mm.
Well, the city center park Christmas lights look fabulous.
Like those?
Love them.
They do, and
Fabulous.
over by the playground, I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
they were
Oh,
there too.
Yeah, you gotta drive over there. That's so good. Yeah. I go to Salt Lake or Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Walk over here.
It's West, 13 to June 16.
You got some good ones.
from next to the river, so I can't do dill, like some people do. So that's. Yes. Every year.
Good for them.
But it's
So
so
energy.
fun.
That kind of a project.
If we're crunched for time, should we keep going? Let me project. How long we can.
Next, we have it's community or it's being.
That's true.
Please want to inform me, we are pursuing MAG-TAG funding, our next thing for technical assistance with government. A lot of different entities have those across the state. We've applied for cycle 2 funding, what was a cycle 1, and I'll show you how that works. We're applying for the active transportation plan citywide, and you saw in that last item, there was an A and a B where State Street was separate. And we initially put in construction dollars, that's here now, so. We had a larger amount, you saw 5 point something million on there, we retracted that because they only have $1 million. So, that's right there in the middle, right here, they only have $1 million as out of this tag funding. And so, we're putting in to do the full citywide active transportation plan. See if we can get funding from the state or from that.
So this is just for the plan.
Yeah, just for the plan.
Assessments.
Yeah, you know, when we say active transportation plan, forget if you. It's basically recycling that. Word for that.
Orem was the first city apparently to have an active transportation plan in Utah Valley. Good job, man. I'm not certain how much of it has been implemented.
I have to say, we've done a lot. Yeah, streets, but for the most part, we've done one.
I did a quick scan for the last presentation, and I know that Murdoch Canal was the plan. Last one was that. So the last 13 years, the Murdoch Canal, there's funding for, and not knowing the city law, I couldn't give a full report of what's been done since then, but as we hire a consultant, we would want to know that. What happened, what's the success, is it with funding, because of that? Some of the.
It's made the bikers a lot safer.
Yeah.
Because before that, you know, you were just fighting in the same lane. At least now they have their own.
And there's a large public involvement element to that, where I think the master plan will have 1 meeting, but this one, the last one had 5. They invited and they really want to get into it. So it's a little more expensive than a TNT, but it's more. What's the total cost on it? We're since we took the State Street one and lumped it in, estimating, we're requesting 300,000. The study? Yeah. What is the rest of the million? Well, that is funds available to every member city and. You're the question $1 million. Well, there's available funding. This is kind of the regulations off their website. If you want to go to, I just Google search MAGTAG and it shows up, but there's a link here that do that. But these are shots off the website, and these are kind of the regulations and rules that they have up to $1 million for everybody in the town. The project $5,000. So what's more on the request? We're asking for the full amount of the study. And if they want to fund half of it, part of it, we can also go to UDOT and yeah, what's the 6.7%, 77%? So on all the funding from that, there's a local match. So it's on all the projects. We have to match 6.77 of the 300,000, or if we don't get the 300, we have to put in more. But one point I'm trying to get at though is that the study costs 300, and they give us 300. The match is extra money, or is that going to go? Or do they give us less? Less.
And then the 6% comes up to the 800.
And I
If
think there's a
you're
slide in there, I think already, I think it was like 20,000. Yeah, they fund the project less, the 6.
Because a lot of people are trying to get a part of that million. So, you know.
And, you know, it's a ranking and it's a scoring, and if you match more, you get higher rank, if it's, you can show, you know, there's a whole form you fill out, and we have to pick wires is best, wires is good. So there's competition, but we go through this all the time. Here's some of the items that qualify. Cycle 2, these are the other competitors. We are in there as a state street active transportation plan, but they let us switch it to a citywide.
Okay.
And or cycle 1 and now cycle 2. So these are all doing
Tomorrow.
So we're all ready to submit.
Yeah, we filled out the form, we have it there. He agrees with it, supports it. It would be nice tonight to say, if you agree or support this action too, and just firm that up. And that's really an item 2.
And this is for the bike lane study.
It's bikes connectivity, it's,
What's connectivity?
if there's gaps missing, if there's missing curb or a sidewalk or missing trail, we try to connect those. It could be a sidewalk. There's a extensive sidewalk in that 2010. So these are all the places that are missing sidewalk. But we typically want developers or owners to do it, but if they're not developing, sometimes we just connect it. So it's not just bikes, it's pedestrian. It's you have a high density area and we know where you get to this, and you get a developer to provide access. It's all comes. So we just try to connect or provide future connections.
Francis, Utah is in Summit County.
So MAG covers
Utah County.
Yeah, there is no MPO in Los Angeles County because they're not big. And so MAG will every so often help Cass and Francis and Heber. You know, Heber has more money than Francis. Midway has more money. So you never see Midway in here, you never see Heber, but they run the travel demand model up to that area. They were looking at going through Gardner and Pass to try to get access up to Park Street from the backside. Whatever that area is, travel demand model to do that. So bank helped out very small.
I had to look up where Francis was. I've never heard of it.
John,
Adjorn.
I'm going to mute, and can you unmute? They're having a hard time hearing me. Okay, thanks.
Okay. So, if the CAC wants to support pursuing that, we can get a yay vote now. I'm assuming you vote after each item. So this is the end of my presentation for agenda item 2.
Is it correct then that the city is recommending that our proposal for the MAGTAG is that transportation? And they're asking us to support that.
City personnel. you mean?
Yeah.
City staff, yeah.
Yes.
And we've presented to other council members and planning commissions for work sessions to kind of show what's new and what that means. And
Bike ones, just in my area, there's one on 400 South. Each way. Now, I've lived for 30 years, and I've been watching it, noticing every time I travel that road lots. And in the past year, I've seen 2 bicycles in those lanes. But it takes out the left turn, right, the center left turn for each way. That's, to me, it's not fiscally responsible to stop all the cars as they go for a car turn. Just because of that bike. Is there any kind of study on usage of these lanes? Maybe there's 5,000 people on, maybe
if this plan looks at
Okay,
that.
wait, can I finish? Maybe I'm not seeing it, maybe there's 5,000 people a day on bike paths. I don't know. Is there a study that's been done that can show what the traffic is in the bike lanes?
Yeah, there's
I'm
specific,
totally against them. If you want my personal. opinion.
sure, there's ways to count and gather data to see how much they're used, and they're never used as much as you hope. And I think if you get input from the public, there's certain groups of people that really love them and want to use them, and so it is a trade-off. It's a trade-off, and if there's a specific area that you want us to look at it as part of the study, we can definitely say that, but I mean, if you're generally against them, you're gonna not want them everywhere, right? So.
I think too, the other piece of it too, that I think since 2010, we've gotten a little bit more aware and we looked at different treatments. So maybe to your point, at our street connections, we actually threw off the striping. And we put in the elephant traction more of a dash length for bike lanes that we develop a left turn. And maybe that's what we have to do is we have to, if we are gonna have bike lanes on similar period corridors, we have to do these other treatments. We can't just keep the bike lane and assume everyone's gonna stop, or if we are, how many cars do we have, what is the delay, and what can we do to enhance it for everyone? Because I agree, I mean, there is some, I mean, and that's the thing, is there's so much change. They're putting in, I think probably one of the things we would look at is probably some green stripes, some green paint that we have to do intersections. Not necessarily cars can be in there, but also just for cars and cyclists to know this is where you decide if you come over here. Because a lot of them will sit either in the through lane, or they're going to the left, or they're going to the right. It's like, let's actually identify where you're supposed to be. So everyone is aware and make it safe for everyone. Because I would agree, in some cases, maybe it makes sense that we drop those and maybe create that left turn if it happens to be at a street that has a lot of lefts. It makes sense.
Yeah, there's there's 4 classes now, but traditionally there's a bike route. That's just bike friendly, then there's a bike lane, and then there's a bike path. And you're talking about a bike lane that we could maybe move to a bike route where it's friendly. They call it a share, where they have a bicycle where cars can drive over it, but everyone knows it's a shared lane. It's not a bike lane. So there are things we can
Some of
do.
the stuff to make a left turn, people are going around it and they're gonna hit. That's when it's
gonna be a danger zone, sure.
the lane doesn't protect them at all.
But we can end it sooner.
But you have another lane, the bike.
Well, we want that input as part of it, so.
There's also, I mean, all the stuff that I've seen says that when you build infrastructure for biking specifically, that makes people safer on bikes, that more people use it. So if we have a space that's really underused, maybe what we put in for the bike facility wasn't the right thing to put there, maybe we think about a different way to put it in so that it feels more safe. There's a better way for the car and bike share and that everybody gets to use the space. And I think that's what the plan will look at.
Yeah, and I have a presentation we could show you next time about active transportation, and there's people that embrace it, and I'm not telling you that everyone has to ride a bike, but it's definitely a trade-off. It's vehicle strong, right, dominant, and not bike dominant. So we just have to figure out those resources, how they're best served and spent.
Yeah, and I think the other part is too, there are some places, Lehigh is just, they just completed phase 1 of the cycle track where they built a buffer, and then they were gonna have bike facilities on either side of the road. And now they've shifted and it's 2-way bike track on one side of the road and then cars on the other. So we'll go through this plan, it'll likely give us some treatments that we could do, but the nice part is we will have some areas that actually have those facilities built. And we can find out, is it worth it, and what is the impact? Because everyone knows that there's the one on Bulldog Boulevard, which is now Cougar Boulevard, where they narrowed up, where they had 3 lanes, and it was really a safety concern. And they put that component in there, but there's also some access management things that have to happen too, and that's where sometimes it's nice to have that protected facility, but when you have lots of driveways and things like that, you gotta just make sure it's safe for everyone. So, yeah, it'll be nice to have a place that we can go look at, and say, hey, does this make sense? If we built it, we had 15 cars in one day and now we have 20. We spent this much, and it's like, is it worth it to put in that facility? That was a good question that.
So you need a motion.
Well, we would like one, we're likely gonna pursue it unless you vote no and just do not go after it, but right now we've been given direction to pursue it, so if you want to show support, we would appreciate it if you want to give a thumbs up on it. Yes, a motion.
You want to tackle that?
I will say this, the people that I talked to, and the bike forum group do not currently feel safe on the streets in the city. And so I think it's definitely meeting a need. And I would move that we support the city staff in presenting the MAGTAP proposal for an active transportation plan.
One second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Wow.
Okay, item 2, sorry, 3.
I know it's gonna go through.
And hopefully now we can really look at the schools and, you know, look plans for the children in the school.
That was my thought as you were speaking, is that it merges into the other crosswalk issues that we've had, because
Yeah,
it's not a bike plan study, it's a bike ped study, so they'll look at crosswalks and in schools, you know, I don't know.
it's right now the kids have to use the sidewalks.
Yeah.
Because they just stop this, so it's a walker. That's
So
a
does
walker.
that make the other motion that I brought up last time that we were tabling till this time moot, or is that still? I like it separate, so I don't think it'll rock, but I think
I think these are recycled.
so. Which we can wait till we get to the agenda, but that was something I said we talked about.
True.
This month.
When is transportation plan, can you direct the consultant that's doing it to look specifically at the things that are school crosswalk safety as part of that whole plan?
It's special note of.
Yeah, I mean, if we can make crosswalk safer to the point that parents are able to send their kids, we have less cars.
So being a previous consultant for the last 25 years, the more detail you get in a plan, the more expensive it is. So there's got to be a balance, like it's hard to go check every sidewalk and walk around with LiDAR and Google Earth. And so there's a lot of tools. And so there's 2 ways to do it. One is to ask somebody, go check all the school crosswalks and go during school hours, you know, and it's data intensive. One option is to say, here's city's a toolbox, and these are the things you look for. And then the city staff can go, and we've kind of decided to do this systematically, like give us some tools and direction. Now, if there's very specific ones that say, like this one we're going to talk about next, we can jump ahead. So yes, they can look at specific ones. Will they have enough resources to look at every single one? I'm not sure, but I know that they typically give us a toolbox to say, look for this, look for this, look for this, look for this, and we can apply that. So there'll be some hybrid of that likely.
I also don't want to wait as long as it would take. I don't want to wait as long as it takes to get the funding from that, and then hire the consultant, and then, right, that's.
So by the time we-
The city could start working on it before
Yeah.
the consultant started.
Or the specific,
Yeah,
By the time we get the results from the funding and then we put it in our fiscal year and then we get it, you know, the very earliest would be after July. I don't even
Yeah,
know,
usually study money comes up a little faster.
but our own match, you know, we have to budget that in. And regarding crossings, this is one that we've looked at before. This is I-15, here's 12th. Bonneville, I believe.
so what's the?
So that little circle, I just wanted to give you an idea. Here's the 1600 north. As we zoom in, let's see, well, this is the 12th west, 1360 north. It's I believe north is left.
Mhm.
And
Sorry,
so,
where north is?
so this is, right here,
Yeah.
and north is on this left side. So pointing,
That's, you said it's 13?
well, there is no 13, it's between like 1340 and 1380.
Okay. That's the term.
Well, one is, the one piece is that, and just to get into the weeds a little bit, is there's a
Wanna go back?
there's a pop out right here. Where we can go ahead and modify this ADA ramp so we can have a crossing.
See, there's a
This
triangular,
this little pop out into the property right there, so there's no right of way acquisition. That's one piece of it, that's why we look at putting it in there. This is just a pedestrian crossing. Typically, we don't try and put pedestrian crossings signalized at intersections. But obviously, that's why we're bringing it here for discussion and.
But it's 1360.
Well,
It's not
so-
a main intersection. Is
well,
it a
what it
intersection
is
Coming out of housing. Is that-
Now, what it is in the middle of the block. So that's the thing so what we're doing here, just hold on for a second, quit looking at it. And focus here. All we're trying to do is we're showing what we're doing in mid-block crossing. Now, if we feel like we should move it a little bit further north or south. Likely not south, but north, that's fine. But what we're trying to do is to back up. The PTA here has made a comment that they have a large amount of students here that.
Those are the
would like to have a
condos,
safe route, right? So there's 44 students that live here. Now, there isn't a warranted observed need. Okay, so we went out and we said, hey, we have 44 kids here, we'd like them to walk to school. We went out and observed, we observed one student, we observed one person crossing. So in response to their needs, in order to provide these kids a way to walk there, we could either put the signal here, pedestrian signal here, we could capture all of these kids walking, if you cross here, likely they would continue down here to 13th North and up into Bonneville, or we could locate it further to the north. They can walk up 1420 north from here to Bonneville, but there's a large amount of kids here, and we're trying to facilitate a way for them to cross. So what we have is what we have in John's concept plan, is similar to what was done on 2000, where we have some bulb outs on the side and we have a refuge area, with the only difference being there's a mast on them that has some blank out signs that I think that will show you, some specific messages yield to pedestrians and whatnot.
the further north we move this, the less you capture, because people are gonna have to walk north to cross, so. And we can't put it any further south, there's no sidewalks here. So this is kind of, like you said, we have a little triangle piece, I think there's a fire,
What's the sidewalk like?
yeah.
What's the sidewalk like on the east side?
It's just really.
So we have sidewalk all along the east.
So they
The
could
sidewalk
access.
ends right here. So in order to put sidewalk in here, we would have to purchase probably property damages. And also have a retaining wall.
There's elevation.
Significant grade elevation from northwest down to this property.
So they most likely not walk south, they most likely walk north, because there's not a, you go back, sorry. There's not a, what you're saying is there's not a crosswalk that would help them go to the
Yeah,
south
they-
that
we-
goes through.
Yeah, we couldn't put it down here or here, because once you get down here, there's no place to
No.
cross.
And there's no crosswalk.
I mean, it would be
on
nice
the
if they
side.
came straight down, but there isn't any.
So they're most likely to cross, go north of 13th.
Well, we're hoping they would cross and come here.
But is there a sidewalk?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
right here
that's
there
all
is,
sidewalk.
yeah.
There's a sidewalk on the east
Oh,
side,
okay, so there was.
and there's sidewalk on
On the west side, there isn't.
Yeah, west.
But on the east side, it's
How do they get into the school? I don't see an entrance on.
You would come all the way down, you could go through to 12th North, I think there used to be something here through this church, but it's gone now, but they would have to come all the way to 12th North.
Yeah, those are homes now where the church used to be.
Yeah,
But there may still be an access on the back, I don't know. But 12, I mean, just they have to get, they can connect with 1200.
yeah.
And or through and.
this, basically is where the sidewalk ends and that business is right over here. So it just ends right now.
Yeah,
I was just wondering on the east side,
Yeah.
I'm sure that there was a way that they,
No,
if they cross the street, that's sidewalk to walk on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of,
They do,
I mean, right
yeah.
now, we have a mask on there, we can put
The
flashing
one-
yellow lights, or we could put,
the one like by you, I'm talking about.
so that's a hawk signal.
I'll show you
Red
that.
and then
So
Right.
this is
Then it
what-
starts when you know.
So you gotta understand too, all we have in the area is we have 44 students that the parents would like to have across. So you could use, we went out and there's warrants that are met. Because we can go out there and we can collect the data and see all the crossings. This, like I said, when they made the comment, we had one and it wasn't during school hours and it wasn't a student.
but I wouldn't have my kids cross that. street.
that's right.
It's a long way though.
It's a
So we're
very
hoping
long
that
stretch
they will
with
use
no
it,
way
right.
to cross.
Right.
So,
So that's why we're here,
Yeah.
showing you what we're proposing. I think our mast arm would probably be wired and set up for a hawk, stuff like that.
like it.
But what we're looking to do is if you go up one, is these blank out signs that say yield, I mean, they're gonna be black. And then once we activate them, this is what it's gonna say.
It can kind of,
Yeah.
it can say whatever we want. These are just some samples I grabbed, but,
And it's not just lighting that we're not relying on, we want to change this to the crosswalk. to the
Yeah.
Streets so that
Yeah,
streets aren't just, cars aren't.
Yeah, there's-
Drivers aren't just required to look at the lights and stop, but they know to slow down because the streets
Well, it's people.
narrowing a little bit. and-
We don't put on collectors and arterials, that's kind of the tricky part is that we. It's literally what is it? Yeah.
Does this include streetlights so that this is lit better? I drive that road all the time, and I, boy, that's dark. You
I
just-
mean, we can, you can see one right here. So typically,
If it's well lit, because people will use, adults will use this at night. And
Where the closest bus stop is to that.
Yeah.
That's well lit.
Any idea where the closest bus stop is
For
to this?
school.
No, no, no,
oh,
No, on 12.
UTA.
no, city bus, UTA.
Is it up by
Probably have a.
Holiday?
Is it up here?
I just feel like I've seen people standing there, but I can't remember where.
Might be closer to 12, I'm not sure.
We were just looking at 8th North and the stop is close to the 8th North intersection, just a little bit south of it, because it captures that area.
I
Um,
personally think if the school is asking for it,
Well, the PTA is.
okay, yeah, that the PTA is asking for it, that this is a great place.
Yeah.
To start that, that's.
And hopefully it's, we feel that they will come type of stuff. These are all concrete, bulb outs, there's refuges out here that protect. What works well is that there's no driveways, but for these houses, and so by doing this, we're not blocking anybody. And depending on what we put out there, this is one in my neighborhood that these beacons flash. They flash really bright, and this is kind of the cheaper version. They press a button and it just flickers and flashes, and then it goes on to a school about the same distance as Bonneville. I actually saw a kid yesterday just run through it without pressing the button on the scooter, and I'm like, man,
There actually is a bus stop further south
is there
on there.
right here?
That would be
Right in
good.
there,
That would
just a
be
little north,
easy.
yeah, right in there.
The UTA bus stop there.
Oh, great.
And be dropping off at home.
We have options. Again, this is the cheaper option. This is somewhere similar to a signal price. These are basically the same mast arms, but with different kind of heads. We've got to talk to Public Works and to people and figure out what will work the best. There's definitely a cost with these, 100,000 plus type of cost. But if, again, you're supportive of it, we'll pursue getting a study, and we already can have an internal design, so we probably don't need to study if how many pets are there, because we already tried, and this really is to corral people to use it. So the next step would be to fine tune our costs and then get an estimate.
I guess that's the question too, is that, that's about hot signals anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000. And if we're gonna put a hawk there, it's just fine, it's just, that's the one right there that actually has the red lights, it stops there, it'll be way. But we don't have, these have the data that support the spending of it, this other one we don't. That's the hard part.
So that's kind of,
What's that, the other one?
Just sort of looking for.
The blinking signs, I mean, it might be around 80,000, 70,000, I think is what Taylor said.
is that with the rest of the intersection design?
With the concrete.
In future, it will.
Yeah, we could have it all set up to handle that, but the cavity there, yeah.
So I think we have a cost estimate for this. This right here is with the blank outs, and I think it's 169. And that, yeah, that includes the concrete though, right?
Yeah, and we probably have some concrete and we do
'Cause there's-
micro surface and we stripe too, maybe that's all part of it.
And if the vehicles have to stop, there's a stop bar, but if they don't, like if it's a hawk, you have to physically, it's a stop red light that you can get a ticket for. But I think on these other ones, depending what the sign says, you don't have to put stop bars in, but there's distance.
And one thing about that, when I see those yellow signs, I don't see the street light. And again, that is well, that decides which one to go with.
I guess the question I asked too is how comfortable are you guys wanting to put these in without walls being met? Because it sets a precedence. I guess that's the biggest thing is for us, when we get these requests, all someone has to say, if we're saying the precedence, hey, there's, one thing if we saw 20 little kids trying to cross here every day, right? That's, it beats the warning.
The problem is you're never gonna see kids trying to cross, because I'm not letting my kids out there.
They'd be dead,
Or your kids even less,
they'd be dead, just like that.
Right,
Oh, no.
so
you know.
I guess if we install it, we study it, we still don't see, then I guess we leave it to you guys to.
We take it out and move it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think at that point, I mean, I would say at that point that you would, if we did this, or some version of this, right? And then we said, reevaluated and said, 6 months from now, it's been in place now for how many months? It's not the summertime, school's back in session or whatever, and nobody's using it. Then maybe next time somebody says we want something, we say, we need to know. We need to gather signatures from the neighborhood that show people are gonna use this. We need some sort of criteria, whatever you decide that it is, right? But I think there is a component of let's try it and see if it really does. If they say they have 44 kids and the PTA is asking, and these families have said to the PTA, there's not a way for our kids to cross the street.
Yeah, the safe route, the way they designated it, you go north, 6 feet north to the same.
Which means 100% you're in a park, because you just made it way too far from the kids to school, right? And so if I want to get on a bike, or if I want to get on a scooter or a walk, I need that crosswalk.
Would it make sense to provisionally approve it and have a conversation with EPA? And ask some of the questions that we're talking about.
Or have them do a survey of the 44
Well,
families.
and figure out, something, I wanna say yes. I wanna say yes, let's put this in, they're asking for it. And I trust them, I wanna believe them. I also want to do a little bit of due diligence.
Do you see that?
Do we just get a piece
No.
word from them, or what do we do? To make sure, but
I mean, we already know, do we need more information than they've already told us how many kids?
You're not
they have
sharing
that
it, John.
That go to their school.
You don't
How
see
many
it?
families of those 44
It's not shared.
would have their children use it versus drive them?
I mean, we all walk to school, 5 miles.
That was an ancient days.
I know.
They just.
Up there in the snow.
If they're walking, it's over your horse.
But see, if you are getting grabbed by the boogie now,
Right.
then that's to be feared.
So these green lines
I walk
are
a
the
mile to school
routes.
at that age,
Yeah, I mean, that safe route to school says to me,
But it is now.
we're not accounting for the possibility of your kids walking to school.
Well, you can see that they don't send them down here because there's no sidewalk.
Right.
So they send them up instead of
Yeah,
crossing.
and
So
they're-
that's
they're
what
not
they're
doing that.
saying, that this is a dead end, let's cross here and let's come around. They could, do this too, but that's the Safe Routes, website.
The question I have, and this gets to cost, is. Right, the example that we talked about last month on 2000 North has no external lighting. So at what point, I mean, I appreciate throwing that, right, all of the elements, but at what point do we say a light is also needed? If that is the thing that.
Just like this Mass Storm has one, right? I
You're
mean,
talking about street lighting, like.
Yeah.
luminary.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean-
street lighting and a hawk signal, like at what point is the redesign of the intersection or the crosswalk
What do you-
sufficient, and at what point do you need to also add a street light? Or,
The street light's a pretty easy ask.
Yeah.
If you're talking about, I'm talking about like what comes on at dark.
I'm talking about both, the street light and the.
the stoplight.
So the hawk is usually something where you're looking at the intensity of use and how many, and most of these. All of these, I think. Maybe the one on 12th West a little further north here, but all of these were participatory. Either the Alpine School District paid half or we paid half. For all of them. So if there's that need on the one on 2000. We would have to pursue, we might be.
There's not, I don't think there is any, that's what I'm saying.
But
When
for us
you
to put a
decide-
street light on, just to light it up, I don't think that's a big
Well,
deal.
your friend turns to the porch light on, is
Yeah.
that how it's lit?
But,
That's lit.
but I'm just curious for this proposal for 1200 South, at what point,
For 12
Well,
West.
or sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
12 West, at what point is the hawk signal necessary to include in there?
Sam, the Alpine School District paid for part of, is it an ask that we can make, or is it too far away from there?
Well, it's for the children and the PTA has requested it.
I mean, if we could split us, I'd be
Yeah.
way happier about it. I mean, I'm happy about doing it, but
Yeah.
it'd be, I don't know,
It'd be an easier decision, yeah. I think.
yeah, it would be. And I'd be rather set the precedent that we're getting some support from the school district.
like the one that we built on 4th North, that's by Mighty Light, it's a Z crosswalk. It's a little bit different than the concept we have, and it has the flashing yellow beacons that John showed earlier. Yeah. Mighty Light participated with that one, and we had that estimated at 60,000. So even if we were to go forward, maybe that's a better cost where we look to put in the concrete so we can absorb that cost. And we do most of this, maybe we can make it cheaper if that's something that you guys would support as well.
Which one's you talking about?
4th North.
It's right on the west side of the freeway.
Yeah, right, yeah, so right in there.
Right here.
Yeah.
You're not sharing.
Stop share, start share. Wrong one.
Maybe I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
ask.
how we just drop it in the building somewhere. So. Gotta drop that little circle.
Oh, there you go.
Closer to the freeway.
Yeah, so.
I drive by there every day.
It's under the freeway.
It's right-
Past the
it's
It's right where you're at.
No, it's right at the freeway, right? It's not there.
Yeah, it's-
So it's all forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People are thinking of it.
I don't have Google Earth on this.
Or Google.
Yeah, I just have this maps one.
but anyways, it's a little bit different, it's a little bit more like the one on 2000, we put in bulb outs. And as they cross.
And then
they
the
offset
offset,
us
the
with-
middle too, middle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, what this does, when you walk across the road, in theory, it kind of diverts you to look right.
Yeah.
You can put in hard barriers like at Disneyland where you like physically have to face to have them in Europe because of the left and right driving. But it's a little bit of an offset just because it kind of gets their head turned.
So can you go back to the suggestion for that crossing? And just very quickly explain what featured in there would make it a safer cross.
Oh. What? Yeah. One is it's, ADA, that would be required anyways, but the crossing distances are greatly reduced. You can see that there's 8 feet and 12 feet. So instead of a 20-foot to the center, it's 12. And then there's a little bit of a pause area that they can regroup and look and keep going. So part of it is the concrete bulb outs. The striping, anytime you stripe anything, it has a narrowing effect. It might, for drivers, they kind of pay attention more, hopefully. They're not going to go from 30 to 25, but they might edge a couple of miles per hour off and they get focused. And other than the mast arm itself telling vehicles to either stop or yield, I mean, that's one of the biggest, but this is a combination of not quite traffic calming, but similar to what you would see calming. And
Is that the entire crosswalk where people are expected to just wait until the crosswalk is clear? Or
I think if it is a school crossing legitimate, that they have to, the state law, I think, is in a school crossing, they have to cross, but if it's not, then you can wait for the half. So it just depends on
the ladder is never for all the way across.
the piano,
That's because of the school cross. That's typically like it's shown there.
the piano keys.
Yeah.
Will this be marked as a school crossing?
Oh, not. I mean, we could, it's just that it's out of the zone.
It's way out, people are gonna look.
Yeah, we may not put what I call piano keys. We may not put those because they're usually in a school zone, so. But I think the state laws that if it's in a school zone, you have to wait the whole distance. I think I read that literally 2 days ago. It says little known facts, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I should probably double check. Because I always did the half and half thing, but I think around school zones, it's different.
I think this is a good idea.
So there's probably some modification to this plan and a tighter cost, and we have to justify if it doesn't warrant it, why aren't we using a cheaper version? Why are we going to an expensive version? So we can internally look at all this. But the question is, do we want to vote today to keep going with it and your support?
Or do they want to go to the school maybe and see, or the school district?
I would submit a motion that we authorize the pursuit of ES planning, but that should include approaching the school
And the district.
for funding. And figuring out what the best, right now, get kind of preliminary sketch-up design, but we'll follow that up with pursuit money, the school in a little more refined design, as well as pursuit money from the school district and pursuit of information from the PTA about the ask and what are they really doing, or do they have commitments from families to use it?
Yeah, how many?
Kind of thing. So I would motion that we continue to study it, not we should be on it if we have those couple of contingencies.
So that was a really long motion.
Could you read motion that we approve it on contingency, that the city refines the plan. We approach Alpine School District for cost sharing. And we review the Bonneville PTA request and the data behind the request to confirm potential use.
Okay, there's a motion, it's been seconded, all agree? Aye.
Item 4, 4th South Geneva Road. This is I-15, 4th South Geneva. What's it called, Lakeside Sports
Sports
Park.
That's the Vineyard Elementary, and that's the site of the.
Yes.
So this is the fatality pedestrian. So when we talk about the intersection area, we're talking this intersection and all the way down to here. So we kind of have a zoom out, and it involves UDOT because they own Geneva, safe route issues, safe routes to schools, the Alpine School District, the elementary, internally Public Works, Parks. I didn't put engineering, us too. So it's a pretty big group of people. Zooming in a little bit, again, Geneva Road, north-south, south here. One quick thing we thought we could do, I think we approached UDOT with this years ago before I was here, and they said no, but now with this fatality, they may rethink it. You can see that this hatching could easily be made a left turn, double left turn. You can see on this side, there's 2 left turn lanes. Here, we could make that, and it wouldn't change the signal geometrics. It's already there. It's a cheap thing. What that does is it reduces the queuing back into this area.
So what are the details of the accident?
I think she was crossing somewhere here, and she was not elementary. What is she, high school?
She's a high school.
Yes, it wasn't in a crosswalk. I understand it was.
On foot?
She was on foot, and there was a truck turning, and when he turned, he couldn't see because the sun was coming down, and so I think it was soon after the turn, yeah.
And it's down, so very.
I think slightly.
Oh, this is coming out.
Well, just the very start of it. It's a little bit of it.
But he would the turn.
Right here.
Yeah.
So, we're doing what we can. Do we put, there's some things we can do, a median down the center instead of a yellow stripe to discourage people crossing. There's pedestrian issues, there's school issues, there's traffic issues, and we're kind of lumping them all in. You can see the dominant movements. Ironically, you can see the tracks. That's one of the tricks of traffic engineering. You can see not many people use this. And these are offset intersections. And so we're considering having various options, closing this access to right in, right out, getting rid of the left turn so we can have better sight and queuing, doing some things to get this median, maybe a 1-2 foot median to people see that and maybe they don't want to cross. We've all done crossings ourselves in bad times, and it's just, you can't force people to do that. So it's really
Orem City, or is that Vineyard?
Most of it's one. We essentially program it, maintain it, but there's the very western piece.
we
Goes further west. It's over south further west.
right here.
Do we know where the victim was headed and where he was coming from? What was the use pattern?
I think she was going from south to north, but I don't know enough details about it.
But I wonder, pictures sometimes a little bit old, I don't know what's all around that. I wonder if there's an access point he was heading to that could be figured into this conversation. What do we do?
I think it was the fields, but I can confirm that.
He was headed south to north
I think south to north, yeah.
and he crossed. And then the vehicle was headed
North to west.
north
Made a
to
right turn.
west. Okay, so they came around the corner.
And she stepped
It
down.
was- Okay, so, just on first field, if we could prevent people from crossing between Geneva and that first road to the west with some type of median, a Jersey barrier or something, a noticeable enough barrier that people are not going to crack off.
And the purpose of this meeting is we haven't started looking at this. And so we want your input, either now or down the road, but it's really just, do you want us to pursue all of these things I'm going to talk about today? Because right now we don't have a striping plan. We don't have the median in there yet. We don't have all that. It's really just, do we want to spend resources and pursue this? And most of us internally has already said, yes, let's look at it. But it includes looking at this intersection. It includes.
So right now, the concern is this recent fatality. You said that you talked to the state about it years ago, or not you personally.
That's what I heard,
The
yeah.
city. What was the concern then?
I just think,
They talked about double lane.
So it was, I think, function two is it didn't warrant to have dual lefts there. It was just a single left, there weren't that many people coming out and turning left. So they just, even though they built it for all of it, they just started to get according.
That before the lakeside was being fully utilized.
Well, here, this whole overpass and the widening all happening when this sports park is in place.
and
So part of the problem, I think, with that whole stretch, if we zoom out all the way to, that whole stretch, is that there's not really good crossings. There's one, I don't think super safe crossing right there. I had to park at the elementary school to walk across the street when there wasn't enough parking at Lakeside. I got a soccer player. And
right, and this is what,
Saturday at the time.
this is the next slide.
Right, and so I personally think thinking about the design of that whole street would be smart, as you said. And it also seems like now would be a good time to pursue it because there are other partners because of the recent fatality that would be interested in working with the city, so it's not just the city.
Yeah, it's very hard for any entity to say no at this point.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're looking at. And UDOT typically likes, the flashing yellow, which is the fourth head.
Mhm.
UDOT loves to keep that as long as they can. Because once they go double left, they can't do the flashing yet. It has to be, you have 15 seconds and that's it. Whereas if you have, Highway 6 where I live, 30,000 cars a day and I have a flashing yellow and I'm like, seriously, I can't get across. But they love that. And so that's kind of, I think, the reluctance. And then the warrant, if it doesn't warrant it and meet it, then they don't put it in. But I think this is something we can pressure and maybe the numbers are better. Regarding your comment regarding the crossing, again, we're kind of almost freestyling with all the issues. Like, okay, what are the issues? These aren't all of them. If we go further and pursue this and study it, then we'll extract more. But outside of school hours, people cross right here, I understand. And
So that's a school right here. in the
It's a school
foreground.
parking
Yeah.
lot. And you can see that they're parked on the north side, likely crossing. I don't know why they don't park on the street because it's actually not illegal, other than it's really narrow
Sometimes there's not enough, at least for soccer games, because street parking's all taken.
already. So, okay. What the city is already doing is realigning this road ourselves as part of I think it's Public Works water project.
We were gonna initiate realigning that. Vineyard has MAG money funding to go ahead and improve this crossing as well as another one to the north too.
So-
the tricky part is that school is in Vineyard and half of the corner south is in Vineyard, this specific area.
So will there be a signal when it is a line or will there be a signal?
Not yet. It could warrant it in the future.
Well, this is a safe place to cross.
The signal, I think, would really frustrate drivers there.
If
And there's a balance between, I'm all about that and safety stuff a lot. But I do think the volume of traffic that it gets.
It might be, the interesting point you bring up is it might not be a bad thing to have. Because maybe the peak is kind of different than ours, it's an off peak, and maybe that helps. I guess there's a lot of things here that we can look at. That may not be a bad idea, that helps with the school crossing. The other thing is, I think he has like a huge amount of the folks, it's coming from the neighborhood to the north.
Yeah. Other brainstorm, we'll hit that next slide real quick. Putting a fence here, putting a crosswalk here, you can see the parking lot's maxed out. There's only 2 games. If you zoom in, you can only see 2 games going on. It looks like there's a third one about to start, but there's just 2 people on the side. So this isn't even maxed out. So, true.
Could some of that
Here,
parking be for soccer?
Not enough parking.
So
I would say it's.
this is really a bunch of brainstorming ideas. We also looked at safe routes. Let me zoom out a little bit. what I estimated is there's a bunch of townhomes going in right here, and they're actually done here, and there's more coming in, so. I looked at people walking the green line down to the crossing at the school, and I also looked at them going through the park. This was 4,000 feet, and this was like 2,200. And then I switched, it says, well, this is unfair because this is only one-sided. There's not a lot of people on the west, so I kind of did it again up here where there's a lot of higher density people, and this was 4,600 feet to the crosswalk, and this one was like 2,300. Or
And there's a narrow, event, it's drop there and down parking. There's a narrow walkway between the houses, so there is access.
yeah, so there's an access right here between houses that I guess we have the right of way. But one option is where we'd work with the school district to say, are we okay to put a route through a park? Is it safe? Is it, and so this would cut down on a quarter mile of walking. And what kids are doing, we're not sure if they're doing this, if they come down this Vineyard Road and then they pass the school and then they come back. If you look at the school, there's a little, let me see which one of these, there's this pathway that takes you back to the school. So as kids walk down and turn, they're looking at the school going, I'm passing it, they cross and they come in. I don't know if any are running across. Hopefully I don't know. I haven't been viewed it, but if I'm walking past the school looking at it and I'm late, I'm really gonna go, and I don't know if the school crossing guards are like yelling at them, but that's where the fence comes into it, that I showed, where do we fence it? Do we enable it? Do we put a crosswalk there and let people at the sports park at the school? So these are all just options that we'll have looked at.
If you got a crosswalk on the west side of the school, you need a crosswalk on the east side of the school, or you put it in the middle. So everyone can get into it. If there's no kid that I know that's gonna walk past school to get to a crosswalk.
Aren't people like water? They just seek the shortest.
Easiest.
You have this awkward intersection though of like, where do you put the crosswalk?
Yeah.
And that's an issue that can be vetted out. Again, this isn't as detailed as the last agenda item. It's more like, this is what we're looking at. Let's brainstorm, let's get ideas. Do we want to go forward as a group? That's why it involves the school district, the school, all the Parks and Rec, us, maybe even Vineyard.
I think that there's political capital right now because of the big to meet you. That could improve and enhance the safety of the state.
Is there an entrance? Is there an
Up here?
entrance to the park from the north side of the park?
Yeah,
Pedestrian.
there is, I don't think it shows it in my pictures, but
If you go back down,
there's a little,
there's a little walkway.
whoops,
There's a little
right
walkway.
here.
And without after, yeah.
So that right there, you mentioned whether people would walk through the park. It's well. I mean, if their parents don't walk around. I did, and I guarantee you that kids will be doing that.
And I know there's some questions about safety through parks, it's losing the park, right? But
Right. But the
I think
time
like
to
they
do
would be safer going through the park than it would be competing with cars on the road.
So I believe Sam told me that this is
Yeah.
public right of way. There's a little gate fence that opens up and then this gets onto the system right here. And so this is a 10-foot path. And it's,
I can see the kids taking that all day long from that new development, cut through that parking lot. And go on to school.
yeah, so these are all already built. These are being built, higher density.
Is there connectivity from that new stuff to the existing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so. Again, we are looking for support. We can go to other people and say the tax support of it, we want to keep going. It always helps.
I'd like to motion that the city continue to investigate potential partnerships and see if we can access for this.
That's item 4.
Anybody vote on
Was there a second?
There's a second.
Kathy, I think.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? We're still have a quorum.
We do.
Yeah. It's, well,
Okay, last one. There's an issue or develop. Take that back. I don't know if it's an issue, but there's a request for modification to the adopted 2014 street connection master plan. We'll zoom in here a little closer. This is right off of city's website and engineering. You can pull up these connection plans, and the adopted one in yellow.
Were we talking about this last time?
No.
Where is this?
So here's Walmart, here's Sandhill Road. I-15.
yeah, North English Road.
Oh, I forget this part.
If I just say Krispy Kreme, we should all know where that is.
Yes, yes, okay.
South of Krispy Kreme and Boston Market. So the red circles are right out of the plan, and it basically says we want to connect these roads. I drew in these yellow lines on my own to say, you know, this is how it could look. You know, you have your 90 degrees that you got to create and account for. This road dead ends. This road right here is about the maximum that a cul-de-sac can be. 650 feet's the city maximum. And if you put in a cul-de-sac, that actually extends it to about 670, 680. And so this would technically be out if we didn't extend it out of compliance. But I wanted to confirm, Sam, is this yellow one appropriate, or did I draw that in?
So.
What south is that?
16th south.
So there has been a lot of discussion about what's gonna happen in that area. Essentially, what the plan states is that we just need to have a connection. Some of these roadways connection now, if we don't, a lot of folks are pretty adamant that this connection from 16th due west would not happen. But that's not to say that this connection to here could happen up through here. You know, this could be some sort of intersection or whatnot. Maybe this isn't the right place for them, that's why we didn't put a red spot there. But I think ultimately what we're stating is we'd like to have some connectivity in here because we got a lot of dead ends. There's some streets that are built as a sub-local, meaning Hidden Hollow Drive, which is just here below. This spot, which is 28 feet of asphalt, essentially acts like a collector because there's not a whole lot of other east-west ways to get around there. So
They come down.
So the goal is to better evacuate this area for people who are on work in the morning, school, just make a more direct route south.
So-
well, I think that the connectivity plan is just trying to complete our grid network and not necessarily focus traffic, whether you're working or you're commuting or whatnot onto some of these other streets. It's just trying to give other people options.
So the reason behind this is this next slide. There's a development that wants to remove these connectivities locations. Like I said, I drew these yellow lines in myself. This yellow line east and west may not be accurate, but the plan only has the red circles, and how they connect is kind of up to us. There's a worry that these three parcels will be landlocked if we don't provide access over to those. I mean, those are
And what is that city-owned property?
just a vacant land.
It's a piece of UDOT property that they dedicated or they essentially needed to the city if we wanted to use it.
Make a
What's the, is it on a hill?
Yeah, so you have a lot of topography. That's really essentially the top, and then it slopes down to the bottom. So that spot, we've always thought, hey, it'd be a nice little spot for a pocket park.
Yeah.
And utilize it. I mean, there's gonna have to be some mitigation because there's a few things buried there, some crash and debris.
Okay.
And it's the
That's
downslope of a
interesting.
Yeah,
septic system.
Park is.
but essentially, like to
Everything's
John's
designed for-
point, we have this development that's coming in. And they want to eliminate the need for these connections. And understanding too, we're bringing this to the Transportation Advisory Commission because there are concerns on Sandhill Road. The only way to
Yeah.
go for this neighborhood here to the south, for them to go north, essentially they all have to flush out to Sandhill Road and go north to south, which is fine. It's just that as Provo is growing, as Orem is growing, Sandhill Road's getting more and more traffic. Likely, we would have to look at signals on that corridor and or eliminate more parking. It's just becoming more and more heavily used. If we keep this connectivity plan as we have on Fourth West, and it can connect up to 1430, now all of a sudden these folks that are trying to get around, typically the citizenry here trying to go north, wouldn't necessarily have to go to Sandhill Road. They can go up to 1430, get up the Parkway and go ahead and get around. So although I understand why people don't want roads to connect, but when they do, they really afford folks in this area another way to get around, because there's really not a huge destination south of you're in a neighborhood, unless you're in this area going to the church, because there's no real direct connect to the park. You're just really gonna service this area, and in my opinion, it would be a huge disservice to this neighborhood to not connect it. Understanding too, the neighborhood is in support of this connecting, but they're also in support of that area there being kept residential and being as developed as residential, and they're fine with that. They do not in any way, shape, or form support what's being proposed. But we're bringing to you,
Which what has been the residential?
this is not residential. They're wanting to rezone this to highway services, and this is gonna be short-term rentals with these little bungalows, and then you can have an
What?
event center here.
And then
cabins.
There's four.
An event
Mhm.
center. This is like a VRBO, they're like two-story little cabin bungalow things.
Each one has 2 units, so there's
Yeah, so.
42 with 84 units.
So that's even worse, because people saying they don't know how to get around this ditch. And now you're in residential areas?
Right.
So.
That's
the-
going through tomorrow night.
So the applicant is
Oh, that's
not
gonna be awesome.
getting the site plan approved, right? It's just for the access
The zone.
and the zoning. Okay, so,
this is the
so
plan.
we've picked apart this site plan in many different ways. All these little white and red boxes, those are all just review stuff that I couldn't find the original one, so I used the design review one that we have, the DRC. And so there's a ton of things on the site. We've had to kind of like look away from the site and just focus on the access. But the recommendation is that, and his note, it's hard to see, but it says there's major grade differences right here. That's why we can't, and this is shifted over a little bit. It should be here, but I did some quick calculations, and there is a 10% grade right around here at the peak. But when you, and that's the existing topography, but if you look at a road that would go in from asphalt down here to asphalt down here, you would take that hill off and it would be 5%. And so, well, 5% isn't that bad, and especially it's south facing, so the sun would get it. And so I know that there's a lot of things that they're saying of why they can't do this connectivity. And we understand why, if they live there, they don't want it to go through their house, but there are engineering things we can look at, we can fix and can be done.
Do you mean, you don't mean through their, like literally through their house, you mean past
No,
their
yeah,
house?
yeah.
I was like, we're not tearing that down. Okay.
Mm,
So there is nothing currently existing there, is this correct?
Yeah, this is all pretty good wooded area, if you look at it.
So, in the
and-
connectivity plan, is there a determination about what size road it would be?
That's our road, I mean, minimum of 28 feet.
Yeah.
But likely 30,
So.
34,
2 lane.
Just be a local road.
Okay,
similar to what you have
so
all over
if,
here.
I mean, their plan for the side, I think that goes through a whole different process.
Yeah.
If there was a road there, they could redevelop this plan.
Yeah.
And submit a different proposal. I'm thinking this road from the bottom here to the top up there.
Right. So
They do not
you
want
guys
that.
We're asking, do you guys support eliminating the connectivity?
No.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
and that's what this meeting's about is we would like also to go, since it's been an adopted plan, and they want to eliminate 4 of them. What does the tax say? Try to ignore the Airbnb and the restaurants. We're all addressing that and trying to figure that out, but
For
right
me,
now
it's just a fairness
connectivity.
issue, like other parts of the city, the priority has been connectivity. I don't think any part of the city should say, we don't want connectivity because we like our little step streets. Or we want these little meandering things to make it special. That, for me, that's just a fairness thing, like, no, if we're gonna connect Orem as best we can, then we do it in all the places, even the places that want a little, cute little meandering streets for their run.
And in
Special.
fairness to them, you can understand why, what we're talking about if we connect 16th. This right here is where the road would go through. And you have a dead end driveway to a couple of homes and you've got a nice frontage that I think it might curve, it doesn't dead end, but if we do connect 16 to the west, you're taking out these little meandering private things. And so I can understand why some of them would be frustrated.
We all want to live in a cul-de-sac.
If you look at top down view, you can see that this is a little lane and they have a little private area. And this is also a lane with some semi-private dead ends. So,
Where would the street go?
well,
is that-
if they were to connect these two, it would go right here.
Do they own those lanes or is that, they just happen to be paved and?
I'd have to look.
Yeah, it's privately owned, that little way in there, and I would think to that point, when we went through the street connection plan, I think it was pretty adamant, they didn't want 16 south to
Yeah.
connect. But I don't think there was anything that was stating that they couldn't go ahead and connect. For this area down through and into here, these folks were pretty adamant, that's why we didn't have that circle there. But we thought, hey, we just want some sort of connection, whether you want to wind it around, you want a straight shot at that, that's fine with us.
Well, if we took the one coming off the hill, get straight down south and then west on 1600 south. You got connectivity there eventually, those private lanes would want to connect in. And then you wind up creating a connection on 16 south.
And the city property is where on that, right there? Right here. Yeah, I like that idea.
If we thought about having roads move through, maybe bring the water main through, sewer can go ahead, we can put homes there, the backs of these lots can then develop.
Right.
This connects through, if this wants to come down through, you develop that park and you have all these homes now, this nice view.
We could bring sewer to these homes instead of septic, and then they can actually, the back of them could build.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything?
So that's looking,
So something like. That's where.
oh,
Whether the tax supports.
yeah, that was looking south, sorry.
So the question is, does the tax support continuing to promote connectivity in this section?
Yes, understanding that I took liberty to draw these lines in, and so by accepting connectivity, you're not accepting the yellow lines, you're accepting the yellow, the principle of
Okay, I
connecting.
can do that. So I would like to make a motion. I move that we as a TAC support continuing to promote connectivity in this section of the city.
I second. All in favor?
I
Any opposed?
Is that sufficient for your need?
Yeah.
We know the TAC has a lot.
Well, they don't serve you dinner at these meetings. I mean, they should start there, right?
We used to have snacks, but no,
The whole speed's so late. Jeez.
we used to have
Yeah, not even
snacks, but
snacks.
nobody ate them. So I got tired
Our
of.
days were shorter then.
I know.
Yeah, I loaded up the agenda today, but that's all that I have. Unless you have, oh, wait, you have your other,
Would it be time to review the proposal from last time? I wrote it in an email.
Right. when we looked at last meeting, it was that the city's gonna look at. Proceed with it or.
We just wanted time to gestate upon it.
What,
That, I think it was just people wanted time to think about it.
yeah, and how we might approach it. I mean, I'm in favor of. Putting together some language that we're comfortable with or emotional. Have the city move forward with it. I think we're
So this was the language.
pretty open.
Motion be to ask the city to prioritize pedestrian safety in existing crosswalks near schools. And then we discussed the following suggestions that could accompany it. Begin with elementary schools, utilize the school community councils to help raise awareness and support from each neighborhood. And knowing that there's significant neighborhood opposition, the city can move on to a different school whose neighborhood welcomes the safety measures.
Do we want to complicate it? Existing crosswalks and bike lanes? We want to bring that in, and we want just crosswalks right now.
I would say just crosswalks, because I think some of the schools don't have bike lanes right
Yeah.
there.
And you're bringing in
They're not
traffic,
necessarily
like you're bringing in the whole road cross section once you do
So
that.
this is, keep it simple, public.
Yeah, and I think like you stated, you have some momentum, not just here in Orem, even though we did have. Do some accident, but I think statewide, nationwide, there's been a lot of pedestrian type.
It's not JSL right?
Yeah,
Another.
somehow worse.
I think we talked about it last time, the brother and sister,
Yeah.
both got,
City or.
It's constant.
well, it was up in the avenues, I thought.
No,
it's
George,
St. George.
where the road is.
What was it? Okay.
There might be something up in the avenues, I don't know.
But like 2 days later, the brother got killed.
Yes, that's.
Yeah,
That was
2
St.
days
George.
later was same place.
So
Oh,
I
I
guess
was-
I would like to put forward that motion.
I would second the motion as written in your email.
Anybody else in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Alright, thank you.
Maybe you guys talked about it before I got here, because I couldn't find these, and I'm not gonna say who did them.
The dog ate him?
No, they were on somebody's.
Very special safe location.
Did we, the open house of the.
When do we get back from that? And are you aware that there was a pretty serious pedestrian accident last week at that intersection?
Like 16?
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Somebody from, Windsor, neighborhood, taking a long turn on 1600 more,
So south headed west,
going north, headed west.
north headed west, okay.
So they're making a left turn.
Taking his children to Northwood Elementary
Okay.
and hit a pedestrian who was crossing the street. I drove by right after the accident and I know the person was driving the car, so I stayed wrong, so I took the six and go. So the person was lucid, but had a massive gash on his leg, a big, blood on his head. And as I was leaving with the kids, the ambulance arrived.
We got some data back. We could send it via email or wait a month. You probably don't want to wait a month, but we can inform you on kind of what was voted on. Some of you were there. You could see that the tunnel was had the most puppy balls in the jar.
Yeah.
Those puppy balls.
So we can reach out to the consultant and either brief you on it digitally or wait a month. It's up to you or both.
So basically, if I heard right, most people voted for the tunnel.
I think there was the most votes for that in that meeting. I didn't personally go through the comments. I believe the recommendation that we got from the public was to do the cheaper one first and do like a ped scramble,
Yeah.
and then look towards funding for a tunnel.
I thought about that actually, when I was happening, so like, what of these scenarios prevented this? And it wasn't a cyclist that was using as much pedestrian, scramble, you don't have covered 10 people at the same time.
And so the one option with the tunnel requires that we still maintain crossings at, because they're kind of two separate
Right.
projects now,
If you put the
because,
scramble in, and then the tunnel goes in later, the tunnel only serves the trail.
yeah,
But this, the pet scramble is gonna serve the neighborhood.
right, so it becomes phased and it becomes cheaper up front to do the pit scramble, but they have to look long-term. The property owner on the northwest side, the triangle next to the canal, they called me last week, we met.
Especially for sale sign.
Yeah, so the developer, people that want to buy the property was asking us, what are you doing there? Are you cutting through our property? The,
We'll
Where the.
northwest corner.
Oh, yeah, well,
Where the little shed is.
oh, is there a light?
No, it's on the other side.
The old one, I think, some kids or some property. And they had it. They put treehouse. Right. The trail. Field, the pepper field, the cornfield.
right there.
You know,
Okay, so that triangle, not the shed on the north.
No, the farm.
So, since I've been at the meetings that you guys were at, the open house, I explained that there was one of the options had a trail over here and one of them kind of cut into this area.
Right.
They were fine with that one. They said it could be next to our road. So, they were just wondering what's going on, like, are they gonna come on the north side and take their land? But I think all the options were not, and they were pretty good about it. They just wanted to know.
Yeah.
I think it was the speculators, the ones that wanted to buy the property and see if there's, they're doing their due diligence on fatal flaws, like, is there anything that we shouldn't buy? And I think most of the options were not messing with that property much, like, we're not gonna put it right down the middle and totally wreck the land, so.
But the tunnel, if it's on the south side of the canal, would be a big mess.
I did tell them that the tunnel would, land way up here, but from here to the east is. They don't own, like, there's a pretty big right of way, and I don't know what kind of utilities is there a water line or,
Canal.
I don't know what's in there, but.
Now we're right underneath
The pipe is running underneath the pavement.
And then you've got, I think, a water blowout thing that is elevated, you have another one right here. And so they asked about that infrastructure, but they're looking at it, and I can't remember, they don't have the overlay of the tunnel, but it does become two separate, not issues, but two separate projects. How do we accommodate street traffic and how do we accommodate tunnel traffic? So,
I was very pleased with that open house because I thought it looked like I don't, it seemed like good participation to me. And people were really trying to listen and read and figure it out. And there were a few people that came in with chips on their shoulders, but I felt like they didn't leave the chips. So,
There were a few.
People seem happy, we all had just talked to them about things, and they knew. They wanted our opinions. I think people were really impressed. Some came because they heard some funny stories, so we had a good turnout.
yeah, I didn't,
Where did they get those from?
There were.
I have no idea.
was it you?
I'd say probably that's 9.
Yeah.
So- we can give you numerical data on kind of their breakdown.
Next meeting, I would love to know if we're proceeding with that plan of the scatter and for phase 1, phase 2, what the timeline looks like.
On a $12 million one.
Right, I mean.
By the time we get the funding, it'll be 20, but there's a little more time frame in that one, but yeah, I can find out.
But for the scattered one, that's.
Didn't we say it was like 6 months to do the construction on scramble?
Part of it is the weather.
So, I mean, I would think that, from what I gather, I think you're gonna look at an alternative A where we would look to reduce some of the right turn lanes. Because you have you got three, vehicles, pedestrians, and share users. So I think you're probably gonna see reducing some of the, or eliminating some of the right turn lanes. And you're gonna see a scramble. So you'll have some of those directional crosswalks, bulb outs, and then I think what likely will happen is that the second phase is gonna be dependent upon data, that supports accident data. So I think if we do the scramble where we put some advanced detection, so you're coming up the trail, you can hit it, so. Because what's gonna happen is you're still gonna have issues with compliance.
Yeah.
And you're still gonna have to do, even if we have a typical pedestrian in there, we should still probably make it a protected left turn where we actually protect. In this case, we're not protecting the left turn, we're gonna protect the pedestrian if they've made that call. Because right now, I don't think it's anything, it's just a green ball, right? So
Yeah.
we probably will put up the green, yellow, and red arrows. I would think so people pull up, you know, like in this case, where you saw someone wanting to go north and turn.
There's protected.
So instead of the flashing, we would probably protect it. Yeah, but we don't on
You're
the
going
where it
to-
actually happens.
Right.
South.
Yeah,
So we
right
would
there.
probably put that to protect it, so if this button's hit and the ped call is there, they're gonna get a red arrow. And wait.
Well, I'm really, if we're going to the pedestrian scramble, all the lights.
So if it goes to a scramble,
Yeah.
then the whole thing's shut down.
Right.
But if that's,
To keep
But-
pedestrians from running against.
but if you have peds going north, south, and east, west,
Yeah.
I think if they're already there, we might have to go, I mean, and that's the thing, it's.
So I would think that the pedestrian scramble would shut down all vehicular traffic. And allow people to cross, and then you open up a normal cycle for vehicle traffic. You don't have to shut down any right-hand turn lanes, you don't really have to build any bulb outs or anything. Because you're creating a fully protected pedestrian experience. And it reduces, I think that reduces your cost and implementation time. You've got to deal with restriping, which requires some resurfacing. You gotta put in like the flashing lights and things like that, but you don't have to do a lot of cement work. And you get a good scramble experience where people will become used to, okay, if I'm gonna hit this, it's gonna change, I can go diagonal. So the people on the trail can actually go diagonally across, or anybody else can go diagonal, or they can go straight in any direction.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it. My only concern is that, because it's really, from a scramble, if you're a scramble purist, it doesn't make any sense. Because in a scramble, if you, like when I was in downtown Nashville, you're in that row, you got thousands of pedestrians.
Right.
Here you have 1,800 on a Saturday.
Right.
So I mean, but it makes sense to get them through, but we do have kids just going straight to school that are gonna come down to where maybe we wanna have them go and let traffic go, because what I don't want is I don't want vehicles now to go to other places, and now all of a sudden, now I got an issue at Main Street. And that's Signal, or I have an issue coming down Skyline, and now people that are going up the road because they want to get around it instead of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like, I gotta,
Exactly.
because that's the same argument I was making. Why we should have 8 East be on there, be widened, because if we don't, that traffic then goes to 4th East, that traffic then goes to here, it's like. Because you guys made the point, I mean, pedestrians are like water, they're gonna go the path of least resistance, and if it's dammed up, they're just gonna spill over and go. So,
I appreciate, more your desire to do it simply so that it
Oh, yeah.
can be implemented more quickly
Right.
and.
Well, the other ones will be
I
quick,
also
too.
think that it, like, that intersection could use the electrical valves, and a few things that narrow it just a little bit for cars, so it's not
Yeah.
just the scramble that's protecting them, but cars are recognizing, oh, hey, I should slow down just a little bit as I come.
and I think to that too, they are also putting together numbers for a pedestrian bridge too. They're gonna have those in there, because I think that was brought up So it was grade separated,
Oh,
what's under versus over, and they'll include those,
Yes.
the what you call power lines, because it might be similar, right? By the time we look at, we have to chase sewer and water so far down to make it to go under, maybe it makes sense to go over.
The bulb outs, help the pedestrian crossing time be reduced, and so,
Right.
if you narrow the gap, then the scramble can be less, and that helps. I mean, these cycles, a left turn phase is like 15 seconds. I mean, if you, and you think it's really long, but the signals are 60 to 120 seconds or 90 to 120 seconds. And so if you can save 7 to 10 seconds and give it to the traffic, then it makes a difference, and it adds up over time and queuing, but that's part of the analysis that we can send to our consultant and say what will fit. I mean, I'm looking at turn lanes, there's not a lot of room, there's parking right here to maybe put a bulb out, there's some here, or we restripe it and make narrower lanes, there's a lot of different things.
Are there any kids that would be using that way to get on a bike to something like this? So if you put in like something on under these.
There is a
Along
bike
high
lane,
school, high school.
but it's a death trap. I'll tell you, you get in that bike lane coming south on 4th from 16, it's narrow. And people come so fast off of that, and they cut into that bike lane. Anybody's in that bike lane, they're gonna die, because they're coming down there and they're always cutting right over into the bike lane.
That's looking south, right?
And I'm so grateful the kids stay on the sidewalk, because
So
if they
that's
got
the
on
bike
that
lane.
bike lane, they do that.
It doesn't look like a bike lane. just-
It looks like it.
It was set up that way.
It probably develops as they go further south.
But you go around that corner and the cars are always in that, whatever we call that.
Yeah, I thought I saw an arrow in there, but
I did too.
I think somewhere it's marked as
It's on the other side, I don't know if it is right here.
Yeah,
oh,
but
was
the
it-
kids never use it.
So we'll get it at our next meeting in January.
I would think so, I think next week they're supposed to have some numbers.
there's some down there.
Right, there's the arrow.
I don't think these are wide enough to qualify for a bike lane, so they
Look,
don't.
that car's in it right
Put
there.
that line in a way.
Yeah, see, they kind of like that.
Why do people drive over them?
Kids think that it's a bike lane,
I
and
don't
it kind of
understand.
looks like a bike lane,
Right.
and
So are they parking there? Is there?
no, they have it.
I'm just, so that car,
That car was parked.
there's gotta be no parking signs, right?
Yeah, you can't park there.
Nobody,
There's not enough space.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Why are they driving in it? It's not a 2-lane.
They're going too
They're
fast.
throwing in previous their term.
Oh,
Cutting the corner.
okay.
There's
They're
proof.
pretending our race car.
I see, yeah, all right.
So if the radius of their turn were changed to the bulb out on that south
Yeah.
west corner, maybe we could have addressed that.
They might get to that stupid intersection and there.
Well, because there's no parking or no driveway access, if there was more room, you could put a curb and a bike lane, and cars physically couldn't get in the lane, you know.
It's not.
Yeah. You'd have to take the median and stuff out, but there are things, it's not quite a cycle track, but that's what people are going to, is a protected Third South in Salt Lake City, I think has a protected bike lane east and west on it, and so,
There's some.
so that's what.
We could talk about that weed median. That is so ugly. I don't know who promised to maintain it. First couple of years it was maintained, now it's just weeds. And so I'm like, why do we even have that? Somebody must have just weeded it.
Yeah, that looks nice right there.
No, it is just weeds.
September of 23.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they,
Have weeds died?
I don't know.
Is there anything else we need to discuss? If not, I will motion to adjourn.
1 second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Now that we're adjourned, can you rename 16 North Ice?
Oh, that's.
It's already-
Oh, yeah, it's.
Good to leave.
Oh, really?
And